Hello, everybody. Happy Spring Equinox 2025. My name is Charlotte Wenner, and I'd like to talk to you about what I see as some of the most important points in an analysis of the spring equinox horoscope from the perspective of structural noetic astrology. As I see it, the universe recreates itself endlessly in fractal forms. And because everything which comes from the source reflects the source, we can see reflections of ourselves in other forms. Thus, by looking at the symbolism related to the planetary pattern at the moment of the spring equinox, we can see what potentials are available to us as individuals and also as society. So I've got a few slides I'd like to share with you, and let's see if I can share the screen successfully. Looks good so far. Okay, so there we go. So I'd like to talk to you about how the spring equinox is a birth of potential. And this, you see, is a horoscope for the world. You see that because on the ascendant, here, the furthest left point in the horoscope, you see the sign is Aries. It's at 0 degrees Aries. So this is said to be the world horoscope. And you see, if you look at the planetary groupings, you see that there's a lot of energy around this ascendant. So the ascendant, that's the moment of beginning in the horoscope. That's the moment of birth at the beginning. And you see that most of the major energy is focused around this point. This is very significant because it shows us that we are in a period of time in which there is a passing away of the old, represented by these planets here in the sign of Pisces, the last sign of the zodiac, and the birth of the new. Those are the planets here in this area of Aries. So this is a very significant theme, and it's something we've been working on or working towards for some time. So I'm just going to run through a few of the standouts as I see it. If there are symbols that you don't understand, don't worry about it too much. These are all factors which are used in structural noetic astrology. I'll just run through them briefly. You see here on the right in Virgo, that's the corrected black moon and the mean black moon. On the other side, you see the corrected Priapus and the mean Priapus. You see Persephone, the counterpart of Venus. You see the diamond, which is opposite the black sun. You see the beast, which is the southern square to the lunar nodal axis, and you see the D for dragon, which is the northern turn of the lunar axis, and the V is Vulcanus, which is the counterpart to Mercury. So I'm just explaining these symbols. Don't freak out if you don't recognize most of them because I'm only going to talk about a few. So let's go on. What are the big standouts in this potential time of moving from the old into the new? Well, all of those planets are pretty much focused around that Aries 0 point and leading from Saturn as the first planet still in Pisces, moving on to Mercury, which is the last one in the group in Aries. So this really represents the end of a cycle to a new cycle from Pisces to Aries. And what's especially nice about this is that Sun is the one that is moving into this sign now first, because the sun, of course, is the light giver, and it is the gravitational center of the whole solar system. And it also represents for us personally, where our attention, where our focus can be, our conscious focus, that which we are conscious of, what that can be. So, Sun in Aries really is the opportunity to set the intention for a new cycle. Aries represents as a sign new beginnings, the fresh new energy of a new cycle, a pioneer, the one who focuses on a new self and on new ways of being. It's the one who is able to also take risks and take action. So this is a very strong placement for the sun from moving out of this Pisces period into the Aries period. The question for the individual is, where do you focus that potential energy? Where do you focus your attention? Who do you want to be? What do you want to make out of that sun energy, that solar energy, which is your identity, or in any case, what you identify with? The next ones that I'd like to take a look at are Neptune and Saturn, which are going to be moving into Aries, 0 degree Aries, in just a couple of months. And they're going to be conjunct, that is, together in the same place in the zodiac. So this is also a very historic period. In the past, these conjunctions have signaled major societal changes, and we can expect the same here. So these are two of the big movers, and they show that there is the potential for the integration of the drive for boundlessness, which is Neptune. Neptune is the drive to go beyond the physical, to go beyond that which can be seen, tasted, heard, and felt, or in any other way physically apprehended, whereas Saturn is the urge to give form, to place within a format, to discipline something, to construct something. So these two together can really represent a potential to build something very much greater than what we have known before, where a format or a structure which allows far more expansion and potent possibilities than what we are currently experiencing. I'd like to turn then back to the personal planets, which are already in Aries. And it's nice that both Mercury and Aries are traveling backwards, because that means they're going to be meeting the sun in Aries in the very near future. And when Venus meets the sun, when she appears to be moving backward in the zodiac, this is called a superior conjunction. And this is also the initiation of a new cycle. And this is a very important period in terms of your values, what you value, your relationships that you value, the things that you value, what you value of yourself, your relationship to yourself. These are all areas in which you are able to give a new energy to you can look at it anew and decide for other options. So this will be going on for several weeks, and you'll see the fruits of your efforts within about 6 months. Then another object, which I mentioned briefly, and I'd just like to return to, is the bee at the midhemal. So this is a very elevated position. And the beast represents pure inspiration, pure unbridled energy of creation. And this sounds very positive, but it lacks any kind of structuring or skill in able to channel this into an actual creative project. So you're going to have to be looking at what you already know, what you're already able to do, what you're able to learn. Maybe you need to get some new information or start working with new skills in order to channel this immense uprush of cosmic potential into creative forms. The problem with this unstructured aspect of the beast is that it can seem very chaotic. So initially, there may be a sense of not knowing how to deal with it. And this could represent that there will be a period in which a lot of chaos seems to be breaking forth in the world. And this can be very unsettling if there is too much fear of the unknown. This will undermine wanting to hang on to what has already been achieved or what has already been given form and not be open to new things and not be able to see the potential in this chaos can lead to a kind of fear. But this is where you need to really focus on the potential and on your vision for the future, where you want to put your attention. Do you want to put your attention on fear, or do you want to put your attention on joy and love and possibility? That's the choice that is being offered you now. And especially taking this look at Priapus conjunct, which is almost exactly conjunct Chiron at this moment. And Priapus is the metaphysical energy which allows us to replicate that which is around us. So, in other words, it is the conditioning which allows us to become a functioning individual within society, in relationships. We learn what is acceptable, we adapt this, and at a certain point, we think this is who we are. And all the bad things that happen to us, those we hang on to those. That's all part of our personality. And what we see with this conjunction here is that there may be a tendency to hang on to a victim mentality, especially if it's chaotic in the world or if things change and we want to hang on to the way things were. There may be the tendency to feel like victimized, to blame others, to point fingers. To focus on the problems, one's own difficulties, instead of looking at how you can use the experiences and the knowledge and the skills from the past, which you've learned through the conditioning, how you can use that to create something new, to heal yourself, to use it in a new way. And that's as a source through which you can actualize the dream of that which you wish to become. So Chiron can actually be the drive to use what you have learned, the wisdom you have acquired through life, into being a healer for yourself, a healer for others, and a healer for the world. Now, just a few other things I'd like to mention about this chart, which may not be immediately obvious. Of course, the moon and Jupiter are also very strong energies. You know, the moon is the drive for the emotional security, emotional attachments and relationships, emotional security, feeling like belonging, and Jupiter is the drive to become greater, to expand, to encompass more of the universe, more of the world, more of reality within the conscious awareness. So these are two drives that most of us are pretty oriented towards. And at this point, they are in a challenging aspect with each other and with the black moon. So the moon is opposite Jupiter, which means they're going to trigger each other. They don't. This doesn't have to be negative all. In fact, from a holistic perspective, there are two sides of the same coin, and that is a very positive potential energy. However, Jupiter is sesquiquadrate to the black moon, and a half square to the Priapus. And the moon has the same relationships, but to the opposite objects. So these challenging aspects may represent some discomfort, some uneasiness when you step out of the box, when you uh, go after that vision of becoming more authentic, becoming more of who you really are or who you can truly be, that might feel uncomfortable. And also, the people in the environment that you've been basing your life on, your relationships with, they may also react in a way that can be challenging. So, again, there's no need to dwell on these feelings excessively. Growth, as Jung once said, always involves pain. Now, we don't have to say it's going to be painful. Painful is only when we're unwilling to accept the release of things that may have to be released. Um, but the important thing is to focus on the positive, focus on how positive your goal is. How do you see yourself in the future? How do you want to be in the future? How do you want the world to be in the future? How do you want to contribute to the world in the future? What are you going to have to do to be able to do that? If you focus on that, then the discomfort will definitely just be signs that you're letting go of things that have stood in your way in the past. Speaking of discomfort, Pluto is also square the black moon, and Pluto usually operates seems to operate from outside. It's a great energy for transformation, but normally people do not truly want to transform until things become so bad or they're challenged so much by external circumstances or internal circumstances that they have to do something different. So, in some cases, the Pluto may manifest itself as those with power and authority who will, in some way, challenge your inner knowing or your ability or your wish to retain in the integrity of your true purpose. But rather than getting involved in some kind of power struggle or obsessing about the power struggle. You may have to get into a struggle, but that doesn't mean you have to obsess on it and put all your energy into it. Just see this as teachers, ways that you can become greater and remain more aligned with who you truly are. These are your teachers, and we can be grateful. And this last one, actually, I have a timing mistake here. Venus is also conjunct Mercury, which means that the sun, which means that the way for you to keep your focus and your being energized is to keep your thoughts on the emotions, thoughts, that's Mercury, and behaviors on love, joy, care, and sharing, and enthusiasm. These are the emotions that are going to be your guides to reaching your future. So, just a few things about what's going on in the world and what this period is about. I've spoken in the past about the heartbeat of history for people who have been watching my YouTube channel. You may have already, or reading my blog posts on Facebook, you may have seen that this is a period of the heartbeat of history. That's when the 4 points of the lunar nodal axis are conjunct the 4 points of the black luminaries. So black moon, Priapus, black sun, and diamond are right on top of the north node, south node, dragon and beast. So these are incredibly powerful moments in history for consciousness, for conscious development. And as we know, the field creates matter. Matter doesn't create the field, field creates matter. And the field is conscious. So these moments of conscious alignments are those undercurrents, those unseen currents, which actually propel history. So that's why we call it the heartbeat of history. And there are different types. You have the pumping of blood into the heart, the expansion of the heart, the pumping of blood out of the heart, and the shrinking of the heart. So I'm not going to go into that, but in the table that you see, there are periods in the past representing each of these phases. So within this cycle, this heartbeat of history, the black moon axis can be seen as representing the positive or negative potentials for the individual and society. And here is where the conscious intention of individuals can play such a decisive role. Are we focused on that which we can be, that which is greatest, or do we restrict ourselves to that which is known in fear of not wanting to change? So the black moon axis also represents the opportunities for people to bring about change in the world and or opportunities to use that which has already manifested through creativity, entrepreneurship, and thought and awareness to bring change into the world. So we can use new inspiration, new energies to create change, or we can use that which is already available to create change in the world. And when we look at that in the chart, we see that the black moon represents the self in terms of the true self, not the self of the ego or of the old personality. On the mundane level, it represents the system and the state. That is the ideal. For instance, democracy as opposed to the government. Priapus represents conditioning for the individuals and standards of behaviors or culture that arise from the system. So for instance, government is an expression of the state in its endless making of rules and regulations and restrictions. The black moon represents the unstructured longing for a better life, for a higher ideal. And the work of the loner is represented by the diamond. This is where the individual focuses consistently and consciously on refining everything into consciousness at its highest expression. So, let's see. My slides don't want to move. So this was the table I was talking about. And you see that there are 4 different types that are represented here. We are in the current form, which began in March 2020. Does that moment ring any bells anywhere? Our current cycle had a warming up then, but the true current cycle of the heartbeat has begun in September of 2024, when the lunar nodes were exactly conjunct the black moon. Northern node was Priapus and the southern node was the black moon. November 1st, the black moon axis was exactly square the black sun axis. So the election must have represented that energy. The United States election must have represented that energy in some way. And now with the sun moving into Aries and other planets moving into Aries, this is going to be when we really start digging into this metaphysical, energetic development and channeling it into form. So this is a very exciting period in which to take part as a conscious individual. So In terms of mundane astrology, the relationship of the black moon axis and the black sun axis indicates interactions of circumstances in the world with the potential in each individual. Whereas the lunar nodal cross is the cosmic reflection of the system that should be pursued. So we look to the nodal cross for that which should be pursued, and what the individual does with that ideal and how circumstances in the world relate to that ideal is shown by the relationships between the black luminary points with the lunar nodal cross points. Within the individual, the luminaries axis indicates the abilities to maintain the integrity and to project this into the world. So, not reflecting your story and not your ego, but who you really are, and projecting this consistently into the world. The lunar nodal cross shows the cosmic reflection of the creation process. So this is what you as an individual are able to create in the world through your conscious inspiration. Everybody uses this cross, this creative process, to transform ideas into form, whether it just be baking a cake, giving birth to a child, or creating a whole new business or organization or personality. These are all reflected in the lunar nodal cross, these phases. So if you're interested in getting more information about my way of looking at astrology, I'd like to invite you to check out more videos on my YouTube channel, my Facebook channel, Instagram channel, Astrology of the Invisible Luminaries. You can go to my website, which has a link for the English, an English site, www.devlinderpraktijk@live.nl. I've also written a book, Structural Noetic Astrology, Part 1, and this covers the basic concepts which are used in structural astrology. So I'm going to go back to the meeting and wish you a conscious new birth in this new astrological year, and know that you are much more than your story, much more than that which you have experienced, and use the energy of this time to go after it. Okay, bye-bye.